I'm Tim McMahon. As a lifelong resident of Northwest Ohio, there are two things I know. We love food, and there are plenty of places to chow down, including in our own kitchens. This is the 4-1 Nosh Holiday Showcase. Welcome to the 4-1 Nosh Holiday Showcase, coming to you from the Crafty Quarantine Kitchen, which is the kitchen in my home. So glad to have you here. We're going to be venturing out tonight, seeing some of the best food and drinks in our area this holiday season, and I'm going to be making a dessert right here in the Crafty Quarantine Kitchen. So what I'm creating is the no-bake salted caramel chocolate pretzel bars. It's a mouthful, and in the end, it's going to be a mouthful for me as well. This is a really easy recipe that I found online. It's not really a holiday dessert, but if you're going to eat it around Christmas and New Year's and other holidays, then I guess that does make it a holiday dessert. It's pretty simple. Start with pretzels. I just saw the first bag at the grocery store and I grabbed them. They actually happen to be gluten-free pretzels. They're pretty good. Then we go with caramel. Caramel bits is what it calls for, but again, I saw a bag of caramel. I just bought it. This is probably going to be the most work that you see in this recipe. We're going to heat this on the stove because obviously we got to melt the caramel and things will get a little bit sticky. And then we have chocolate as well. We have a 12-ounce bag of semi-sweet chocolate chips. I have roughly 8 ounces in the bowl right now. That's the first step in creating this no-bake salted caramel chocolate pretzel bars. First step we're going to do is we have to melt the chocolate, then we're going to lay it on parchment paper, and then we're going to start sticking the pretzels. Now, as I prep the chocolate, we are going to make our first stop of the night. It's at Benchmark Restaurant. This is one of my favorite restaurants in all of Northwest Ohio. Located in Levis Commons in Perrysburg, Chef Jeff Deneville makes amazing food, and he's going to prepare a holiday favorite main course tonight.
Guys, good evening. My name's Jeff. I'm the chef and co-owner here at Benchmark Restaurant in Levis Commons, and today we're going to be making beef Wellington. Beef Wellington is a classic English dish that's really made for celebrations and is going to wow everybody at your holiday get-togethers. So this is a great holiday dish because it's something that you're definitely not going to cook on any random weekday when you're picking the kids up and running them all around to school practice and things like that. But when you got that extra time to really spend some time in the kitchen and do something that your family is going to remember, this is a great go-to item for it. Buy the best quality ingredients that you can get your hands on and you treat them with love and care. So if you'll notice on the top of this, you got that nice, consistent golden brown crust across the top. That's really going to make all the difference later on. After we wrap it all and it's covered and everything, you're still going to have that seared, just a little bit salty texture that people love out of a good piece of beef. You know, we keep it pretty simple here at Benchmark, you know, and we stick with salt and pepper. We let the meat speak for itself. So we want to go ahead and do that on all sides. So really, seals in all the moisture in the steak in there, but then it also gives you that crust that everybody's looking for on a great piece of beef. So me personally, with tenderloin being as lean as it is, I really like to cook tenderloin rare. Now that being said, it comes out great medium rare or medium as well. But for my own personal taste, I love a filet or tenderloin that's cooked really rare. It doesn't have that meat content like a ribeye that you have to break down. It really is something that you can just cut with a spoon and not worry too much about the undercooking it. All right, great. Now that we have the crust all over our steak, we're going to bring it back over to the cutting board. And what we're going to do is, while the beef is still hot, we're going to take a little bit of English mustard, Dijon, and we're just going to rub it down. So we want to do that while it's hot so that the mustard itself basically melts into the meat and isn't something that's just on top. The meat really has the ability to take on that flavor. So the next step for our beef Wellington, you know, we have our seared off beef. We have something that's called mushroom duxelle. So that's a really fancy name for a little bit of mushrooms that are just pureed down with just a touch of brandy and a little bit of cream. So we cook out the moisture in all the mushrooms, and then we get left with this beautiful paste. So that's going to be the first layer to our beef Wellington. That's one of the tricks to this, is having layers and having everything be cooled down so that you can make a consistent layer around the beef. If everything was hot, it really wouldn't wrap around there as well. Bring it up from the edges, and then we're going to wrap it. And then just tighten everything down. So now we're going to throw this in the cooler for just a second and then pop it back out in about 15-20 minutes when everything's cooled down, and then we're going to go on to our next steps of the wrapping process. So we pulled our beef out of the cooler, everything's nice and chilled down now. So now we're going to start with the next layer. That's going to be our Italian prosciutto. So prosciutto is just ham that's been cured and aged for anywhere between 18 and 36 months. Really delicate, really light flavor. But what we're going to be using it for here mostly is a layer or a barrier between all the moisture that's going to be inside of our beef Wellington and the puff pastry on the outside. You know, that's one of the important things about a great beef Wellington is having that crispy, flaky puff pastry crust on the outside. And we're going to move it back into the cooler and let everything cool down so that it stays together just a little bit better and forms a tighter crust on there. All right, so we got our next layer of the beef Wellington going. So this is going to be our puff pastry. Puff pastry is a classic French pastry that is really heavy on the butter, really decadent, really something that is going to set that lean beef off. You know, give you that buttery, flaky crust on the outside that everybody's always looking for. So we'll flip it over and then just tuck that crust right underneath there. Nobody's going to complain about a little extra buttery puff pastry dough on there. So here in the restaurant, we have a couple cool, fun tricks that we always do. You know, they always say that you eat with your eyes first. So what we have here is our lattice cutter. So this is going to be something that just adds a little bit of visual appeal to our beef Wellington. So we're going to cut it and then stretch it out. And if you can see, it forms that lattice pattern that's really just going to be beautiful on the outside of our beef. Now, being delicate, we're going to just tease that apart a little bit and go right on top. And like I said, you know, those rough edges, we're just going to cup and tuck underneath the beef, form it up with your hands into a nice tight ball, and then we're going to take our egg wash. So egg wash is really going to activate that nice golden brown crust that everybody's looking for on their pies and on their pastries. You know, just because there's a big old chunk of beef rather than apple pie in the middle of it doesn't mean that we don't want it to be golden brown and delicious. Then our last step, we're just going to coat it with just a little bit of flaky fleur de sel or French sea salt. The bigger the crystals, the better for something like this. I personally really like to bite into a nice chunk of crystal. All right, we're going to go right onto our sizzle plate here, and we're going to set her in the oven. We're going to be in the oven for about 30 minutes until we reach a temperature of about 115 degrees. We're going to be shooting to pull it out and cut it when it's about 120, so we'll give it a chance to rest up for about 15 minutes, and then it should be perfect.
A big thanks to Chef Jeff for having us out, and I can't tell you how delicious that beef Wellington is. Check it out at Benchmark or use his tips to create it yourself. Okay, we're moving along in this chocolate bar pretzel project thing that we're doing here. The next step is to put it on parchment paper and just sort of, you know, move this around as best as possible. In fact, I'll probably want to get a spatula. That might be best for this, but just get this on there, and then as quickly as possible, once it's on here, I want to start placing the pretzels. Because obviously the pretzels and chocolate need to mix together. They need to learn to like each other. And then the caramel is going to come in a little bit towards the end. The pretzels can overlap, that's fine. But the main thing is getting that chocolate down there, getting it spread out, and then just having fun with it. That's where you can get a little more lax in the rules and just sort of put the pretzels wherever you like. Maybe some pretzels have more chocolate than others. Maybe they don't. I gotta admit, when I was melting this chocolate, pretty difficult not to lick this spoon each time, but I had to remember that I'm not gonna eat all these by myself. I mean, I could eat that entire bowl and all this chocolate and caramel to come, but it's probably best with all the eating I'll do around Christmas and the holidays and New Year's, probably best that I don't eat all of this. Now when I'm done, I can lick whatever's left on the spoon. That's part of being your own chef. That's the best part, I think. So I'll get this on there as best I can. Let me get a spatula. See, I'm licking my hands now, and I'm gonna wash them before I get going. You just can't help it. I mean, chocolate's right in front of me. How can I not lick my fingers if I get some on there? So we'll start placing the pretzels in. And you really want to press them in. You want to get as much chocolate as you can in there. What I'm going to do after throwing these all on is add a little bit more chocolate. It's going to get sticky. It's going to get a little bit messy. That's probably good. I have a little bit left in there, but that's fine. All right, so I'm going to move these around a little bit. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, something that would be really good with this might be a nice cocktail. So we're going to catch up with the team at Bramblewood Bar and see what they're whipping up this holiday season. You're watching the 4-1 Nosh Holiday Showcase on BCAN. Oh hi, welcome back to the 4-1 Nosh Holiday Showcase inside the Crafty Quarantine Kitchen. We're making no-bake, salted caramel chocolate pretzel bars. What I was just doing over on the stove was melting the caramel. That's pretty easy, just 2 tablespoons of water, heat it up until it's smooth and completely melted, and then move along to the next portion of our dessert. So, to recap, we have chocolate on parchment paper. We melted about 8 ounces of chocolate, placed the pretzels in here, just sort of threw them about. That's basically all you needed to do. And then the next step is to drizzle the caramel all over the pretzels. You can let it cool down a little bit more if you'd like, but the thing is, this is all gonna chill shortly anyways. So I just went ahead, I was anxious. I went ahead and just poured the caramel on. The rest of the chocolate, we heated that back up in the microwave. Again, 30-second intervals. We're just gonna sort of move this on, place it wherever I feel like we need chocolate. It smells really good. There's nothing like melted chocolate. It just sort of calls for it to, you know, drizzle the caramel on and add the chocolate, but I'm just gonna move it all around. I wanna try and make sure everything gets in here as much as possible. I wanna get a little bit of everything in every bite. We just have a few more steps here. If you want a little bit more salt, you don't have to do this. The recipe calls for sprinkling of salt, so I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle some on here. I just use pink Himalayan salt. Use whichever salt you like. Obviously the pretzels are already salted, so again, if you don't want a ton of salty taste on here, caramel sweet, chocolate sweet, you don't have to do that. So I think that's good enough for me. This is making me really thirsty too. Not only am I getting hungry looking at this, but thirsty. A cool place I found here in Northwest Ohio is Bramblewood Bar. I say place in quotations because it really doesn't have a set location. It's a mobile bar that's rented out for weddings and other types of events and occasions. Got to meet the team there and find out how to make a delicious and crafty cocktail punch. Let's check it out.
We came up with this because we love to entertain and to take care of people. We love food and drink. We think that the food and beverage scene in Toledo is just booming and awesome, and we wanted to be a part of that in our own special way. I'm Jess Napier from Bramblewood Bar, and today we are going to make a bourbon pomegranate holiday punch. So we are going to start by putting in some fresh pomegranate seeds and some orange slices into our punch bowl. This punch is nice because it has bourbon, but it's not so bourbony for those people who don't like whiskey or bourbon that they're not going to enjoy it. So it's got that bourbon flavor profile, but also has some juices in it, and it has a little bit of that effervescence from a little bit of champagne too. So it's perfect because it is sweet but not too sweet, strong but not too strong. I think it's a happy marriage. So we are going to add in a half cup of your bourbon of choice. We like to make big batches of things because we like to share. We like everybody to enjoy what we're doing, and that's why I love doing kind of these holiday punches, because it's something that you can make one big batch of. You're not stuck behind the bar. You can just make one big batch and make it delicious, and everybody can serve themselves. You can serve them, welcome them into your home, and just also be able to enjoy yourself, which is really important. So for the ice here, I actually did an ice sphere with cranberries in it, rosemary, and an orange slice. So something, again, super easy. You can do ahead of time, you can prep them, and then when your guests get there, it's something that's a little bit extra, a little bit special, that when they get their drink, they're like, ooh, that's really cool, but it really doesn't cause you much more stress to do and to make it happen and to make their drink special. So we've got our special ice sphere in there. What's nice about the champagne is that, you know, it's stiff, but it's not so strong that it's like difficult to drink. It goes down easy. And there we have our bourbon pomegranate holiday punch. Cheers.
Welcome back to the 4-1 Nosh Holiday Showcase inside the Crafty Quarantine Kitchen. I'm making no-bake salted caramel chocolate pretzel bars, which are currently cooling down in the fridge. What you see in front of you right here is not dessert. No, this is some delicious smoked meat from OTR Smokehouse in Signet. I had a chance to meet the family behind this operation, follow them through their steps. All right, I'm just gonna warn you. This is really, really good stuff. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Jody, and this is Victoria Beckford. We're the operators of OTR Smokehouse. Well, it all started down in Louisiana, just south of Lafayette, when we just throw birthday bashes and do barbecues, because it's always hot in Louisiana, so why keep heating up the kitchen? We just started smoking on the barbecue all the time, throwing parties. 2016, after the great flood of Louisiana, we got flooded out of our home, so we moved out about approximately a year later and came back to Ohio and decided, what are we going to do after getting out of the oil field? And so, well, everybody keeps talking about this barbecue, we take a run at it. On the smoker, we got a smoked turkey going. We got us a brisket in there. We just pulled off a couple of pork butts. We have some smoked eggs, and then we have a rack of ribs for those ribs. Normally when people order our briskets, if they're doing it for a holiday gift or for themselves, they'll order a whole packer brisket. So this is a smaller 14-pound brisket, and it cooks a couple, 3 pounds out of it. Or they can order by the pound and we'll process it so it's a pulled brisket for sandwiches. The turkey was in a simple brine mix, salt, sugar, water mix for 18 hours. Sometimes it'll turn a more golden brown, just depends how big it is. But we're shooting for a 175 so it can rest and get up to the 180. Just basically all the smoke is collecting on and browning the skin up. We actually bought this from the Barbecue Store and More in New Haven, Indiana. And they're built in Pennsylvania by the Amish or Mennonites. And it's a beautiful piece of equipment. This is actually a TS-250. It's a 250-gallon tank. And then this here on the side that we do the burgers and the leg quarters on is a Barbecue 42. Now we're getting ready to make our Tough Joe burgers. We got us 10 pounds of 80-20 ground beef. Get that all broke up and ready. She's prepping up some sweet bell peppers. We usually try to do all 3 colors just for color in it to see, and some sweet onion, and then we'll throw some more garlic in there. And that's how we would sneak the veggies in for the kids down south in Louisiana, is so we could at least get some vegetables in them. It's a meatloaf style burger, so we used to have crackers and eggs in it too, just like a meatloaf. But then friends' children would have allergies to eggs or to the crackers or something, so we just took them out. And we're like, less is better, let's see how it tastes. Today, everything that we're cooking up, we're gonna take up this evening and feed our local volunteer firefighters. We'll take some brisket, some smoked turkey, these burgers. If there's any ribs left, we'll take them up there for them too. And get some baked beans, maybe some mac and cheese ready for them, and firefighters will eat good. We've actually sent food in for the Bowling Green firefighters also. They definitely remember you when they drive by and see you set up somewhere. My daughter works at the nursing home in Fostoria, and when the COVID all first come out, and she got trained to be one of the caretakers for the COVID patients, we fed all them too, at least all the workers. But we try and give to our veterans also. They're obviously a big part of this country and do a lot for us. And so we deal with hooves in Swanton. They do amazing things up there with horses. And we work with the Cocoon in Bowling Green for the domestic violence side. It's a job. I mean, before it was just fun, drink beer and cook on the smoker and cook on the barbecue. And now it's a lot of heavy lifting. It's actually a lot more work than I anticipated, but I like it, I enjoy it.
Mouth-watering, delicious meat. I'm going with the brisket here and the turkey. These are 2 of their holiday meals, which they're going to be packaging and offering this season. You taste that smoky flavor. There's like a char on there. When it's smoked with the onions and the peppers, that really helps the flavor come through. We got to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to try those chocolate bars. You're watching the 401 Nosh Holiday Showcase inside the Crafty Quarantine Kitchen, right here on BCAN. Welcome back to the 401 Nosh Holiday Showcase inside the Crafty Quarantine Kitchen. We made a dessert throughout this entire episode as we visited with friends from Benchmark, Bramblewood Bar, and OTR Smokehouse. Now the time has come to try this. So I let it chill in the fridge probably for about 30 minutes on the parchment paper. I broke it up, put it in a bowl, and now here we are again. And I'm gonna end the show now because if I eat this, it'll probably take me another 20 minutes before I'm able to talk to you again. So thank you everybody for joining me on the 401 Nosh Holiday Showcase inside the Crafty Quarantine Kitchen. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year to you and yours. We'll see you next year. Wow, that's really good.